When I was in seminary, I did an independent study with Bishop Neil Alexander on preaching and rhetoric. And so if you've ever heard a sermon from me that you really love, then I have to give him the credit for that. But if you ever heard a sermon of mine that you hated, just keep that to yourself. One day during one of our sessions, we were talking about preaching feast days, Christmas, Epiphany, Transfiguration, Easter, Pentecost, and Trinity Sunday. And he said something interesting. Now, Bishop Alexander's big thing is liturgical time. He wrote a whole book about it. And he said that the Trinity Sunday is the culmination of everything that we have witnessed from that first Sunday in Advent. It's the end marker of the various seasons of the church year before we enter that long green period of ordinary time. It is the summit of the prophets, the incarnation, the transfiguration, the temptations, the resurrection, the ascension, and Pentecost. All of the themes and stories that we've heard for the last 7 months now coalesce around this mystery of the Holy Trinity. Far from existing just to humble us preachers, Trinity Sunday stands out in the life of the church as a day devoted to thinking about just what we mean when we say God. So in short, the doctrine of the Trinity, take out your notepads, everyone. The doctrine of the Trinity says that God exists in 3 persons, co-equal in majesty, power, and eternity, but distinct from each other. See the diagram in the stained glass window for visual aid. Each person is fully God, but each person is not to be confused with the others. It's not the case that the 3 persons are 3 parts of God. That's called partialism. Nor are the persons 3 expressions of God. That's called modalism. Nor are there 3 gods. That's polytheism. But there are 3 persons existing in hypostatic union and perfect harmony of the divine perichoresis. What's not to get? But really, the Trinity is a mystery, meaning that it's something better left contemplated than explained. I mean, all of that wasn't exactly the most moving thing that you've heard today, I'm sure. But as Callistos Ware says, God is not so much the object of our inquiry as he is the cause for our wonder. But why? Why is this the culmination of everything we've heard hitherto? Why do all these Greek words matter? Why should we care? I ask that you bear with me for just a moment. This is the thing that I find most interesting about the Trinity. If we believe and accept that God is good, perfect, the fullness of being, and that God is loving, then it follows that God would be 3 persons. So if God were only 1 person, say, of the Father, then he could not be loving, for there would be no one to love. Or else he would not be perfect, for he would require something other than God in order to fulfill his love. And so the 2 persons of the Trinity must be in order for God to be perfect, good, and love. Why 2 instead of 1? Well, so that love is not selfish. Okay, so, still with me. If you accept that the Trinity is perfection, love, goodness, ultimate reality, is God loving God's self from eternity in perfect union, will and being, then why are we here? This is the part that I find so interesting. We're not here because God needed us. He doesn't need us because he's already perfectly complete in his Trinity of persons. We're not here by accident because God doesn't make accidents. but then we must be here on purpose. And if not because God needed us, then it must be because he desires us. Now, how cool is that? God doesn't love us because he has to. He loves us because he wants to. He wants us here. God didn't send the prophets because that's a thing gods do. He did it because he wants us. Christ did not incarnate because God was curious about what it feels like to hunger, thirst, and die. Christ became incarnate because God does not just want us to be here, he wants us to be with him. He wants us to be in communion with him, and indeed all of his creation. The transfiguration, the resurrection, the ascension, Pentecost, all of this happened because God, the undivided Trinity, doesn't need, but rather desires us to be with him. And in the person of Jesus, we see exactly what lengths God is willing to go to bring us closer. Again, not because he needs us, not because he owes us anything, but not because of any reason other than that God, in his perfect goodness and love, desires us, you. Now, maybe I'm just easily impressed, but that is the best news I have heard in a long time. So why does the Trinity matter? Why do we care? Because without it, who do we become? Who does God become? I'm just scratching the surface of things that are cool about the Holy Trinity. And even after the things I know, and even the things I know are just scratching the surface of that. We've been talking about this for 2,000 years, and we're still just scratching the surface of what we don't know. And I think that's a lot of fun.